Hello, hello, hello. This is Carib Carter, and welcome to Mike Cobb's Offshore Investment Report. Mike is coming to us today from Serbia. And let me bring him on because we're going to tell you a funny story when he wrote me an email about where he was coming from. Mike, how you doing in Serbia?
Hey, I'm doing good, Carter. I know where this funny story is going. So, yeah. Go ahead, tell the
So
story.
Mike writes to me and says, I said, can we do the show? Can we, everything said? He said, yeah, I'm going to be in Serbia. And for some reason, I have no idea why. I thought he said Siberia. I'm thinking, damn.
What is he
Mike
doing
Cobb
in
community,
Siberia?
residential resort community, Siberia. I said, are you kidding me? So Mike writes back, says, no, I didn't say Siberia.
Serbia. Yeah,
Serbia, which looks beautiful.
it is.
And I mean, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
So
this is a little town in the very northwest corner, right on the Danube, called Apatin. The main city nearby is Sombor. That would be the one you could find on the map, Sombor. And it's a beautiful town, small city. They have one of the largest paintings in Europe, actually. They hid it. They built this incredible story. It's in their town hall, and I can't remember how big it is, like, I don't know, 100 feet wide by 50 feet tall or 40 feet tall. I mean, it's giant painting, right, of a battle, a very famous battle that happened here back in the 1850s. It was a battle against the Turks. It was one of the battles that was really definitive in turning back the Turkish invasion of Europe, right? And anyway, so during World War II, what they did was they actually built a brick wall in front of this painting and made it look like the wall so that, like, nobody would destroy it or whatever. And then they've taken the bricks down, obviously. And I was here in I can't remember, it was February or March. We had a special tour, and we got to go in and see this painting, which is it's in the town hall, like the mayor's, the town council's room. So it was great. Yeah, it was great. But my first trip, I don't know if you knew this, Carter, but I lived in what was then Yugoslavia, which is now Croatia, in Zagreb for 3 months as a kid with my parents.
Really?
Yeah, or my dad was over in Yugoslavia doing his sabbatical, and so I lived in Zagreb, and whatever. I mean, it was a fun experience, but then hadn't been back to what is now Serbia, right? That's Croatia. But anyway, so about pre-COVID, so I guess it was maybe 2019. I was invited by the National Association of Realtors to come over on a trade mission to help the local association here, the Serbian Association of Realtors. Really, the mission was to help them develop their women's council, right? So we brought the president of the Women's Council Association, a past president, a future president, and then there were a bunch of people from NAR. President of NAR came, and so it was really a good group of people. Had a ball. So they brought us over, and really it was VIP treatment. So for 5 days, we traveled around the country, saw these really cool things, went to beautiful historic ruins, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which has a funny story, but I'll save that for another day. Anyway, but we had this great time, and then we came back for 5 days of just intense conference and workshops to help them build the association here. Well, in that 10-day process, I got to know the then president, and of the National Association. His name is Slaviša. And so Slaviša, whatever, and now I'm here doing other things with a group called Liberland, just coincidentally. It's crazy. So I got invited to Liberland, right?
Right.
In fact, we should get, Carter, we should get Veet or a couple of the folks on our show sometime. So why don't someday we'll do a 3-way with one or two of those guys too, and talk about Liberland. But Veet started his own country. He bought this island in the middle of the Danube River that was neither claimed by Croatia nor Serbia. So it's truly unclaimed land. It's an island in the Danube, right? So he bought this property, and he created his own country called Liberland. And so he had an architect, a big architectural firm. He had a big competition. So an architectural firm came in and designed a city. And I've known Veet for many years. We've spoken at many conferences together. And last year, I saw him at Acapulco. That's right. I saw him at Acapulco, and he said, well, I'm having this Danube River cruise. I guess I saw him in Mexico in February, and then the cruise was in March. Anyway, so came to here, which and again, just hadn't been to Serbia in whatever, 40 years, right? And all of a sudden I'm back a couple years later to speak on his Danube River cruise. And now he's doing his big summer festival called Floating Man. And it's sort of a play on the Burning Man thing, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Burning Man's going on in the desert right now in the US, and this is Floating Man. But it's a big festival kind of, but he runs a conference at the same time. So that's why I'm back. But I flew in a couple of days early to meet up with Slaviša and the board of realtors here in Serbia, and they're headquartered out of Belgrade. So whatever, we had a great meeting. After the meeting, went out to dinner, had a fun time, and one of the godfathers of real estate here in Serbia presented me with a Serbian cap. So I am now.
I love it. So now you are an official Serbian.
I'm an official Serbian now, which is tremendous.
Is fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it. It tempts me to put on my official
what do you got?
Carib Carter glasses, but I'm not going to do it.
Oh, come on. So anyway, this hat is really warm. So we went out to dinner at the top of a hill that overlooks Belgrade, and it got chilly, right? The temperature dropped, it got chilly, but I had this nice wool hat on, and I stayed nice and toasty. And then everyone else was like, hey, we got to get out of here. It's getting cold. I'm like, you need your Serbian hat, okay?
Quick, two quick questions.
Sure.
I know, folks, we promised you we're going to get to questions 5 and 6 out of the consumer resource. We promised this for 8 years now, okay? And we will get to them. But two quick questions. One is Croatia. Here we go. Croatia and Serbia were both parts of Yugoslavia, right?
Correct. Yes.
And then Tito died, and
he died.
Two countries separated.
Yeah.
But then there was a huge war. I know everybody watching now is wondering, well, is it peaceful?
It is. So the war was maybe 90 to 93, something like that.
Right.
And then just crazy. I mean, again, just whatever, the U.S. bombed, or NATO, but led by the U.S., bombed Serbia in the late 90s. But since then, since maybe 2000, peaceful, and really the country has really struggled to recover, but has recovered. And I just look at the countries that have just been the object of aggression, right? And it's two sides to every story, of course. But anyway, but being here and just meeting the people and really helping the real estate association, kind of get their feet underneath them and become professionalized, right? Think about this for a second. So under Tito, I'm in a communist country. So under Tito, there was no private property ownership, or little. Maybe it was a kind of a hybrid thing.
That's right. Under Tito, and he was the dictator for like 40 years or something.
Yeah, right after World War II, up until whatever mid 80s when he died. But anyway, so this one Irada was the guy's name, and his daughter Milena. Anyway, the two of them. He started a business back in 1993 when they privatized land ownership, right, and apartment.
Good.
But see, here's the thing. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's just amazing to me. Like, we just take it for granted. Oh, titles, right? If you want to buy a house, you buy a house, you get a title. But there were no titles. Or the time. I mean, there were cooperative. I mean, so like this idea of getting into the real estate business when there were no real estate contracts. There were no formal title documents. I mean, like, or individual titles. I mean, and so like he got into this business in 1993 and began to help people become owners of their own home, private property ownership, right?
Yeah.
So like I say, he's one of the godfathers of real estate here in Serbia. I mean, he just did an incredible job of helping people become property owners, right? Own real property. And as we know in the United States, I mean, that is truly the foundation of freedom. I wrote an article for the National Association of Realtors a few years ago, and I've republished it a couple of times, right? Property ownership, the foundation of freedom. And
excellent.
Right. And truly, so this is the guy that gave me the hat, and he works with Slavisha, who's the president of the association, and just, it's a great group of people, and they're really, really working hard to professionalize the real estate industry here, right? With codes of ethics, licensure. I mean, all the things that really kind of hang together to have an association and an industry that can be what it really should be. And I just congratulate these guys for starting at truly ground zero. I mean, ground negative zero, right? Negative, right? Negative.
Yeah, yeah,
Bringing
absolutely.
it to where it is today. And yeah, just really, really cool things happening. So
Well,
it's nice to be a part of it. I don't know that we would ever have any business in Serbia, quite honestly. I don't know, right? I wouldn't rule it out, but like,
right.
it just has never kind of been on my thought process as a place, right? But having now been here 3 times in 4 years, but and probably being here fairly often in the future to speak at the Lieberland events and stuff. So I don't know, it might be something that we would look at in the future. One of the things I have to check about is residency programs. I had lunch with a couple ladies yesterday, one of whom is from Germany, and she's going through the residency process, right? She bought a home. She's going through the residency process. So we were talking about that to try to really understand, like, how do you become a resident? Because if you do own a property and you want to live here,
Yeah.
you got to be a resident, right? So what's that process like? And it sounded like it was a fairly straightforward process, which was refreshing, because in many places it's not. In many places it's a very bureaucratic, cumbersome process, but she's walking her way through it right now successfully. So yeah.
Well, you're the offshore investment oracle, okay? You are the offshore investment oracle. So is property, I know you're not yet making a major investment there, but is it a good investment? We have our people watch you, they follow your lead on investments.
Yeah.
Is it a good investment? Well, how's the pricing of the homes at this point, the cost of living and such?
Well, let me say, so at dinner the other night, I kind of went around the table and just talked to each of the folks that were there about their markets. They came in from I guess 5 different cities around the country to this, to the national board meeting, right? And to go to dinner. And so I was able to really kind of talk to different people from different parts of the country and what those markets are like. It's really interesting. The market is much like the US. It's fairly tight. There's not a lot of inventory. And when COVID happened, a lot of people, again, much like the United States, moved to the country. And one of the women that was the father-daughter team, that the guy that gave me the hat, one of the interesting things that they talked about was, like 5 years ago, you couldn't give a house in the country away. Like, nobody was interested. And now, like, there's a shortage of inventory for homes in the country. And I think we saw that in the US too, right? So that was the kind of thing that was happening.
Yeah.
In terms of prices, what I'm going to call a starter apartment in a city, one of the major cities, Belgrade, Novi Sad, Niš, like the three big cities, about 100,000 euros. So very affordable, and that might be a 35, 40 meters, so 450 square foot kind of apartment for about 100,000 euros right now. And I mean, you can get for less, but that seemed to be about right. And I think that's, I mean, in any major U.S. city, you would never touch so right,
No.
right, and quality of life here is phenomenal. So at dinner the other night, somebody got this cake, and I reached across and I grabbed a couple of the raspberries off the cake, and and so we were all joking. I'm like, yeah, I love the fruit here in Serbia, and someone said, and it's so true, the fruit in the United States is plastic, and I said, exactly. I mean, so the quality of life, right? The quality of life is phenomenal.
It's just true.
Right. I mean, I had a tomato today at breakfast that was world class. I mean, it's just hard to even, I mean, how do you have a tomato that's world class? I mean, literally, I had one bite of it. I had that, eggs and sausage and all kinds of stuff, right? And feta cheese that was to die for, right? But anyway, I took one bite of this tomato, and I said, you know what? I'm saving it for dessert, because it was world class. And so
unbelievable.
Yeah, but and cost of living is very, very affordable. So as a place to look at for cost of living, and the only thing I would say is, in the wintertime, you need a wool hat because it's cold here. So it's definitely 4 seasons. Okay. And I think a lot of people looking to move overseas are looking for weather related, movement,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm not sure that this would check the weather box very well. But if you like 4 seasons,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
4 seasons and, and a great quality of life and cost of living, I think Serbia would be a place to look at. Like I said, we're not looking at it yet.
Right.
Someday we may, right? We may. But I got to say, I'm not hearing a whole lot of people saying I got to move to Serbia or I want to look at Serbia. So I don't know. I like it. I like it.
Well,
Yeah.
well, after this show, we may get people saying that. Who knows? That may be
True.
the next. I mean, I love winter. I love cold weather. So
Yeah.
for someone like me, like when I thought you were in Siberia, I told you, I think I'd like to live in Siberia. Well, now Serbia, a little less cold. Yeah,
Hey,
very
Carter.
nice.
Hey, Carter,
Someone
I think
like
a lot of people would like to ship you off to Siberia. But that's a
Yes.
different.
If you took a vote, I think it would be unanimous. So let's do, in the time we have remaining, let's do, folks, this is the best book ever written on living offshore. It simply is, Mike. I mean, you did a fantastic job on it.
Well, thank you.
Mike wrote it. He's the expert, and you can get it at ECI Development. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's free. You cannot beat the price. You cannot beat that price. It's free. And this is not a pamphlet. I copied. This paper is, but this is a book, folks. It's 110 pages. So it's a real book. Table of contents. Okay. Yeah. Excellent. By the way, if you read nothing else when you get the book, I think, Mike, this chapter right there, the demographics, page 43.
Yeah.
Stunning. Because you were.
Thank you.
I told people the other day, I told somebody who works with Brad Lee that you are rolled into the Lewis and Clark of the offshore industry, okay, of the offshore world. And you went ahead of everybody else and blazed the trail for people moving offshore, folks. That's why this show is so important. And listen to this quote from this article in the Zogby. This is a Zogby quote. They did a survey, found 24 million. All this is in this article, folks. All this, 24 million Americans are now ready to move or invest offshore. Here's the quote from Zogby, from this survey. Future generations may look back on the first decades of the 21st century as the age of migration. And you were ahead of the curve, Mike. You were ahead of the curve by 20 years. 20 years.
Yeah.
Blazing the trail. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes, to be honest, it felt like we were at the bleeding edge, right, as opposed to the leading edge. But certainly in the last decade, maybe from about 2005 or 6 on, I guess early 21st century. But anyway, right, we definitely have started to see this incredible migration, and now with the ability to work remote. I shouldn't say that. Now with the permission to work remote, we've had the ability for a decade or more, right? But we've only had the permission for the last couple years, and so the permission to work remotely has changed the migration, factor significantly, forever. In fact, that's what I'm talking about here in Lieberland. I'm going to be talking about, and we've talked about it before, but this decoupling of the work and the work location. This is powerful. I can't even think of the right word. Help me here, Carter. Like it's like epic is not epic. Like when I say epic, people think EPIC, like epic, but it's really epic, EPOCH, right? And so I want to try to find a different word, and I'm struggling to talk about the hugeness of this transformation of human society. Right.
You know what, Mike? It is, transformation's a good word, but what it really is, and folks, you can look this up. It's a transmogrification.
Oh my God,
it's a transmogrification. That's when everything totally shifts.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what we've had. Okay. Yeah. And you know what I love, Mike? And correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the expert, but I like it because what you have pioneered now has come home to either end of the age spectrum. For people my age, and there aren't that many of them, but I always laugh because at my age, folks, I'm sorry, I just think it's so funny. Yeah. When George Burns, right, was in his 90s, and somebody said to him, George, why can't you date women your own age, right? And he said, at my age, there are no women my own age. Okay, so when I
Right?
talk about the age spectrum, I'm not talking way up to my age. But look, folks, if you're above 50,
Yeah,
what Mike has pioneered enables you to live offshore on your retirement fund. Just even
yeah.
if it's just, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong,
Just
just
Social
Social
Security.
Security.
Just Social Security. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right.
At the other end, your remote revolution, and you were out there for you coined the term remote revolution. The millennials now at the other end of the age spectrum can move offshore because of the remote revolution.
Correct.
And they can move to Grand Pacifica, the Mike Cobb community in Nicaragua, Grand Bayment, the Mike Cobb community in Belize. One of my favorites is just coming, El Zante.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
new community in El Salvador, where
El Salvador.
Bitcoin.
Yep.
So it's the best of both worlds at either end of the spectrum.
It is, and you know, and the beautiful thing is, I mean, as I come here to Serbia, right, and just see what's here, whether or not ECI were to ever do a project here is irrelevant. I if I was looking for a 4-season, high quality of life location, I think I would definitely look at Serbia. I absolutely
Beautiful.
would. And again, you don't have to be in a Mike Cobb community. You held up that book. And I know we said we were going to get to questions 8 and 9 or something today, but we didn't. But that reference, that consumer resource guide works no matter what country you're looking in, because
absolutely,
it's about how we successfully buy property overseas, how we do due diligence in a country that's not our home country. So you could be, by the way, you could be a Serbian buying a piece of property in the U.S., and that book would help you.
It would still help you.
Right. That book is how we change how we think so that we can do really good due diligence in a foreign country that not our home.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So in the time we have remaining,
yes.
we simply this time have to keep our word. Folks, we promised you the 15. We're going to end this right here in this. Right, over here, get it up there again.
There you go. Yeah.
One of the chapters is the 15 critical must-ask questions when buying real estate overseas from the Offshore Investment Oracle. Okay, Mike wrote this. We did 1, 2, 3, and 4. At this point, I can't even remember what they were. It's been so long ago. But we're on 5 and 6 now.
Oh,
and these are 2 really critical questions. I get a lot of emails, text messages, phone calls about them.
So
number 5. Number 5.
I'm going to suggest, Carter, we stay with number 5 because number 6 moves into a whole new category.
Right.
1 through 5 are buy what you see. So I because look, nobody can remember. You can't even remember 4 questions, let alone 15 questions. And I'm with you, man. I'm with you. So what I've done is I've broken the 15 questions up into 3 simple principles, right? Buy what you see, own community, know the developer. So the first 5 hang together with buy what you see. So what's question 5? We'll hammer it out here today. What's number 5?
So we are going to do 5 today. And folks, this is very, very important. And I think you're going to love the answer. Number 5, how far is it to major medical care? How long is the dry season, the rainy season? And the headline is, here it is, folks. When you get your book, there's exactly what it looks like. And the headline, let's focus right on that. Major medical care is critical.
Yes.
All right.
And the factor in there, by the way, is not how far, how long, right? Because if it's a horrible dirt road, like it might only be 20 miles, but it might take 2 hours or whatever. I mean, whatever it is. If it's a nice interstate highway, it takes 10 minutes if you're really hustling to get there, right? So it's really about how long, not how far. And that's a buy what you see, right? That's a pretty important piece. It's right. So what are the roads like? How long does it take to get there? That's a physical reality. And so very, very important to understand. And the other thing is this notion of being near major medical care. And so if you say, you know what, I need to be, whatever I need dialysis. I'm just trying to, I need dialysis. Well, that's every 2 or 3 days or whatever. Right. So you know what, you probably need to live in a major city or minor city, but you need to live in a fairly urban area so that you can get your kidney dialysis on whatever periodic basis you need. And you don't have to drive a long way to get it. Right. On the other hand, if you're a pretty healthy person and you're not, doing extreme sports, and you think, well, I'm pretty healthy, and so you can live further away from major medical care. And sometimes people go, oh, I can't. I mean, I could never live, an hour away from a hospital. And I think to myself, much of America lives in more than an hour away from a hospital, right? I mean, if you live in any of the, Wyoming, Montana, I mean, just lots of rural places across the U.S., you could easily be an hour away from a major hospital.
Yeah.
So again, the kind of people who want to be in an urban center because they want to be around major medical, Panama City, there's a Johns Hopkins facility.
Yes.
Managua, Nicaragua, great healthcare at the Vivian Palace. Costa Rica has the SEMA system. So you've got great medical care, and Medellin, Colombia. I mean, people don't think about Colombia, but yeah, Medellin, Colombia's got incredible medical care. So you've just got all of these elements.
Same with
you wouldn't think about, right?
San Pedro Sula, Honduras has the Johns Hopkins facility.
There you go.
And that's not that far from where you're building a MyCop community outside of the city, at the Reef.
About an hour.
It's about an hour.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So and let's. I think it's important. You buy what you see.
Yep.
And I think people have a terrible misconception, or their perception, what they see, because they only hear from the U.S. government or whatever about medical care in these countries. Whenever I talk about medical care in Honduras, people say, well, do they do surgery with an X-Acto knife and duct tape, right? And I say, no. It's not only first rate, the prices are incredible.
Correct. You just can't even imagine how inexpensive medical care is overseas. And these are world-class facilities. These, in some cases, are JCI, Joint Commission, international accredited hospitals. I mean, these are world-class facilities, and the costs are significantly less than the U.S. But there are great insurance providers too. It's like, if you live overseas, you don't have to go naked or whatever they say. You can have great insurance. Amadex is a company that we used. Boop, I can't remember. They've changed their names, but they're a great medical insurance company. We used them for the 14 years we lived in Nicaragua. We had coverage there. We had coverage in the U.S. So we had international coverage, right? We could have been in any country in the world, and we could have had medical care, with that insurance policy. So, yeah. So I think insurance is important, and as an expat, you can get it. The insurance itself is very affordable, and then the and the medical treatment, if you're out of pocket, is likewise very affordable. Hey, Carter, I have to. Oh no, I don't have to go. Okay, I'm sorry. I was going to say, we're right on the half an hour, and I have a bunch of calls today. But because I know that you're kind of long-winded. No, not me. I'm the long-winded one. I admit it. I'm long-winded. Anyway.
And I'm long-winded. I haven't even done my plug for Coffee with Carib Carter every Monday at noon at Offshore.club.
What'd you say, Carter? I didn't hear you. Every Monday at noon. What?
Well, it's coffee with Carib Carter, folks. Every noon at Monday noon, Offshore.club. But seriously, the medical care. Okay,
Yeah.
And we'll close on the quality, because I think it's so important to our people. I think the average age of an Offshore Club member is over 50. And yesterday, for Joel Nagel's show,
yep,
your partner, your lifelong friend, he had just had a major total physical in Belize, right?
Yep.
Total physical.
Yep. We would call it an executive physical in the U.S. An executive physical. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I think the number he said, was $108.
Okay, I believe it.
It would have cost thousands in the U.S.
Thousands. That's right.
Thousands.
Yeah.
And he said it was incredible, top to bottom, personal attention from 6 physicians, right?
Yeah. Well, Carter, and that's the thing. Medical care, right? And I think we just throw the word medical care around, but we don't really stop to think about that word care very much. Care, right? And to care means to have concern for others, and not just have concern, but physically exhibit that concern through action, right? That's real care. And one of the things that I found living in Central America, but also the stories from other expats and other places too, right? It confirms that the caring part of medical care overseas, in Latin America for sure, I've never had any European care, so I can't comment on it. But Latin American health care, the care is real. And
real.
you know what? Yeah, it's nice. The doctors give you their, I mean, Carol was pregnant when we lived in Nicaragua with our second little daughter, Emily, right? And anyway, she's not so little anymore. She's 18 and flew the coop. I mean, like, my little baby's gone now, right? Of course. But anyway, but when she was pregnant, the doctor, the pediatrician, gave Carol his cell phone number. I mean, like, what U.S. doctor's given anybody their cell phone number, right? So, and he cared, and then he cared for the girls, as they grew up, and right, care, real care.
Yeah, and I think it's so years ago I wrote a script for the National Association of Radiologists, and in it, this had to be like 30 years ago. I said that your patients don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and you just nailed it. You nailed it. Yeah. And that's what you get.
Good line, Carter. That's a great line.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I should have trademarked it.
Yes, you should have. Yes, you should have.
All right, this is fantastic. I think there you go, folks. It took us a while to get to number 5.
All right.
But I think we covered the waterfront, Mike.
And
so thank you.
You're welcome. And next week, I've got to tell you, I'm actually going on vacation Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we're going to have to figure out how to do this show in, maybe earlier or later or something. So yeah, but I'll be stateside, so I won't have Serbian hats and I won't have other things to talk about. So we can maybe get to questions 6 and 7. Maybe.
Fantastic. We'll do a double. All right.
Maybe.
Thank you, sir. Fantastic.
Hey, thank
Mike.
you, Carter.
Thank you. Enjoy
Siberia,
Serbia. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
There you go, folks. Incredible. Get the book. It's free. It is the best book ever written on living offshore. So as I tell you, every time we talk, let's do this thing.